Welcome to One on One, the Daily Items digital program featuring Susquehanna Valley newsmakers interviewed by Daily Item reporters. Today's guests are from the League of Women Voters, Teri MacBride and Linda Harris, interviewed by Bill Bowman.
Okay, I'm Bill Bowman, managing editor of the Daily Item. We're joined today by League of Women Voters of the Lewisburg area President Teri MacBride and Voter Services Committee Chair Linda Harris. I don't know if everybody's going to see where it is, but Teri is over there. Linda is down there. So we appreciate them. We're going to talk a little bit today about the upcoming election. Obviously, it's been moved back already because of the pandemic. We want to talk to these experts about sort of safety at the polls. Teri is a previous poll worker who will be volunteering again at the polls in June. So we want to talk to them a little bit about voter safety and what's going to happen, what we can anticipate seeing at the polling stations. As well, we're going to talk about mail-in ballots. We've had about 10,000 people in the Valley apply for mail-in ballots and about 1.3 million statewide. So it's obviously a fairly popular option for people moving forward. Thanks for joining us today, guys. I appreciate it. I know you're busy. I know you've been on a couple calls today already.
Nice to be here. Hello.
Let's start sort of with your role with the League of Women Voters of the Lewisburg area. And I'm wondering what concerns voters are giving you about voting in person. We saw what happened in Wisconsin where, maybe a dozen or so or 24 people contracted COVID who lined up out there. So sort of what you've heard from your voters, Teri.
Well, a lot of our voters have already voted by, I should say a lot of our members have already voted by mail-in ballot because this is the first election where no excuse mail-in voting is allowed, and the counties are dealing with these new procedures that they're putting in place. But at this point, everybody has options that they did not have previously. So we should all be grateful that in 2019, Act 77 gave us this opportunity to vote by mail-in. I personally have done that, for example, even though I will more than likely be working at the polls to help Union County. So yeah, members clearly, like the general public, are worried. How do you stay safe when you go to the polls? And I think a lot of this is going to come down to personal responsibility. You should wear a mask. You should do everything to keep appropriate social distancing, not just for your own safety, but out of respect for everyone. I trust that most of the public is going to do that. And yet there will be some people who refuse to wear masks and, just are not thinking about these things. So I have concerns if that happens, that people will just have to take matters into their own hands and say to someone, please, I'm going to step back just to keep 6 feet of distance, or I'm going to step away because I want to make sure that we're not contaminating each other. We want to stop the spread of this contagion. That's what I know.
Linda, what have you been hearing from voters?
Similar, and clearly this has been an incredible option. Everyone thinks it's because of COVID-19, but it's not. Governor Wolf enacted this in October of 2019. The League of Women Voters, we jumped on this right away, and we said to people, this is an opportunity for us to do things differently. Many of our voters, can't get to the polls, not because of COVID, but previous to this, if you're a working person, if you're a working mom, hard to get to the polls. This offers flexibility. You can vote in your own house. It just makes more sense. And also, it's the first time we have no excuse voting. We've had absentee voting since the Civil War. But this is the first opportunity you can actually request a mail-in ballot just because. You don't have to indicate why, you just do it.
What's your guys' role as a league in educating? I mean, obviously, everybody sort of knows what you guys do. Maybe they don't in terms of educating the electorate of who's on the ballot and things like that. But do you guys take on a different role this time in terms of educating voters about sort of how to manage going to the polls this time, or in another thing, educating people on the mail-in ballots because it's such a new thing for a lot of people?
Let me just say one thing, and then really Linda's the expert on this. But the Voter Services Committee of the League of Women Voters of the Lewisburg area has jumped on this They have done everything from educating voters how to use machines, the new voting machines that were purchased in 2019, and lots of educational outreach that Linda has personally done on the radio. We have written letters to the editor, and thanks to the Daily Item, you've published information that we've gotten out there. But Linda's committee is all about educating the voters.
And thank you for that beginning. And that is exactly what we are all about. And the bottom line is, besides the voting machine demonstrations that we did in 2019, and we coordinated that with the Union County Elections Office. They were very willing to work with us, and they wanted us to help them do that. And it's also, we are a history of doing candidates nights, candidates forums. We've gotten involved with the Greater Susquehanna Valley, and we did a meet and greet last year. We're all about letting people know who's on the ballot, giving candidates opportunities to answer questions. We're known for our voters guide. Our voters guide is all about, it's totally unedited. Whatever the candidate writes in, that's what's on the voters guide. We educate them in terms of what ballot questions are, understanding what the ballot questions are, where to vote, when to vote. And of course, when Act 77 came up, we did a lot in terms of getting information out. And our publicity person does an incredible job with Facebook, getting that information out to Facebook. Our website has all that information. And this time we've really stepped it up in terms of making sure, because we couldn't do any face-to-face. We couldn't have seminars like, this is what you can do, and that's usually what we normally would do. We had to use Facebook and our website to get information out. And of course, radio. WKOK has been very kind to us, giving us opportunities to get that information out to people.
Teri,
let me just say what's different this time is Linda's committee recommended to the board that instead of printing a voter's guide, as we've always done, and distribute it throughout Union County so voters could see the information that is out there about candidates in response to questions and their backgrounds, their biographies, and so on. It is not available in a printed format this time out of concerns about exposing our volunteers as they would be taking these around. And many of the locations either have reduced hours or may not even be open at all at this point. So it seemed like the best way to get that information out was to put it online. And Linda's been talking on the radio about this. Where you can get it is on our website. And then again, Linda's group has done a tremendous job of populating the information for vote411.org. And Linda, I'll let you talk about that because that's your thing.
The National League has Vote 411, which all of the candidates get an opportunity to answer questions. Matter of fact, they just won an award for their work, the National League, which is very exciting for us. And you can go to Vote 411 to find out candidates' information from all over the country. You can actually go to Vote 411 and put in your address, and you can create your own ballot online, which you can then send to your email or your text and print it out. And in the old days, we would just take it to the polling place, but now we can just use it when we fill in our mail-in ballots. So that's an amazing opportunity for people to go to get, and again, it's nonpartisan, it's totally unedited, and what's great about it is it's a fluid document. So if a candidate wants to change up his or her answer to a question, they can do that up until the day of an election.
Don't miss a chance here to plug your own Lewisburg League of Women. Sorry, I got it wrong. League of Women Voters of the Lewisburg area. What's the website that you guys can visit?
www.lwvlewisburgarea.org.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we got that in.
Thank you.
Yeah. Teri, you've had previous experience as a poll worker. In this climate, would you have any concerns going back in on June 2nd?
Well, I have concerns, sure. I'm of an age demographic where I need to be, it's been recommended that I take precautions. Not that every everybody shouldn't. But I have confidence that the Union County Elections Office is going to do everything they can to create as safe of an environment as they can. So they have been following advisories from the CDC and the Pennsylvania Department of State, which have recommended different safety measures. I trust other counties are doing the same thing. We're going to have, exposure by being out in the public, but I'm personally willing to do that. I think it's important that for those people who choose to vote in person, who do not choose to vote by mail, that we provide them with that opportunity. So I'm going to wear a mask. I will do everything I can to keep my hands clean and not pass on any germs that I may have unknowingly. I want to do my part, but in return, I'm really hopeful that the public is going to be cooperative and be respectful of poll workers, because and other people standing in line if there are people waiting to vote. So it's a personal responsibility thing. And Linda has said this. I'll paraphrase you, Linda. Think about your neighbors. This is a community endeavor of running an election. It's local people who are working there. It's your neighbors who are voting alongside of you. And, we all have different opinions about this virus and how contagious it really is. Clearly not everyone is wearing a mask. But I would hope that people will try to be respectful and do the right things.
Sort of shift. I know you guys have hit on it a couple times already. These mail-in ballots. It's a real, we're seeing a lot more this election than we have in previous elections. 1.3 million applications statewide, about 10,000 locally. I think we just talked before about they're up to about 3,500 mail-in ballots applied for in Union County alone. It's a lot of back and forth, a lot of sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Untruth. Maybe sort of explain to me, like I'm a 2-year-old, exactly what a mail-in ballot is and sort of why they can work in all the time, but especially in this climate.
The easiest way to get your mail-in ballot is to go to votespa.com. And all it is they're asking for your information that the elections office already has. This is not new. So you put in your name and your address and your Pennsylvania driver's license number, or if you have a PA ID, and you can apply online at votespa.com. After you do that, you will then get an email from your elections office saying they've received it. If you do not have a valid driver's license or a PA license number, then you would have to download the application from votespa.com. You would fill out the information, sign it, and then send it in. The difference is that if you have a valid driver's license, your signature is already on the computer in the system, and that's what they use to validate who you are. If they don't have that, then they can't do it with you online, and you have to download the application, fill it in, and mail it in. And the deadline for doing that is May 26th, 5 p.m. That's when the election office has to have your application in their office. Mm-hmm. Now, our election office will then send you an email. They'll say, I've received your application. We are then sending you your ballot. You can go back to votespa.com and you can track your ballot. And it will tell you the day the election office received it, when it was processed, when the ballot was mailed to you, when the ballot was received back to them, and then the status. And I'm looking directly at mine and it says vote received, recorded. It's very easy to do. It's not difficult. The only thing I have a concern of is anyone who doesn't have a computer, who is unable to print out their application. Then they'd have to go to the elections office to get one. But that's easy to do. They're open. You can just go in there, fill it out right there, give it to them, and then a ballot will be sent to you.
So one of the very important things that Linda talked about is this votespa.com website. That's the Pennsylvania Department of State that administers, is responsible for elections in Pennsylvania. So there are other links in that different ways to get this information and different mailings that occurred throughout this election season. If you want to deal directly with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania or Union County, you know for sure you're dealing with a government office. That's a really secure way of knowing you are talking to government people. They have your information. They will use that to verify who you are. I have every confidence that this will be done in a secure way. We will not see election fraud. Organizations like the Heritage Society have verified that there's very little vote fraud in the United States and in Pennsylvania. This is a system that some states don't allow any in-person voting anymore. So it's not as though this has never been done. As Linda said, absentee ballots have been done for a long time. There's a lot of knowledge, a lot of double checking and verification along the way. I feel as a citizen that this election will be very secure.
Obviously there's been some hullabaloo from the presidents, calling it their potential for some corruption. We have state Republicans saying, it's ripe for voter harvesting, but you guys are both saying it's a very safe system that's been around for 165 years.
The facts don't support that assertion that it's a corrupt system or that there's a really prevalent voters fraud problem in the United States. And I know the president convened a commission after he was elected 4 years ago, and they looked into it, and the commission was disbanded because they did not find substantiation of voter fraud. So I think we're fortunate to live in a country where our checks and balances and our systems do work, and I have confidence in it.
Anything, Linda, on that one?
I totally concur. And like I said, there's 5 other states that have only mail-in balloting, and that includes Colorado, Utah, Hawaii, Oregon, and Washington State. They've been doing it for a long time.
Okay.
Like I said, the research does not wear out, does not show that the information we're hearing is true.
Mm-hmm. So
I encourage people to do their own research.
Okay. Going into June 2nd, there's not a ton on the ballot here locally, particularly with the Democratic race for president getting wrapped up with Senator Sanders dropping out. Now you have the mail-in ballot. I mean, what do you expect the turnout, I guess the in-person turnout to be on June 2nd?
Well, we have a number. I mean, I think from what I got from the election office was last 2016 when we had the primary, there was like 11,000 people that voted. So if he has 3,500 ballots, right, do the math. There's 75 more 100 people that, could possibly end up at the polls. And you're right. At this time, there is not as much involvement we're going to have, but there is still the 83rd and there's still the 84th that people have to vote. So, people need to get out and do their due diligence. I don't know what's going to happen. I just wish people would do mail-in ballots and make it easier for them.
We lost Teri because her cell phone rang.
Sorry.
Yes.
I didn't think about that one.
She's a very busy woman.
Everybody is.
She's an incredibly busy woman.
I want to say about the, whether people should vote in the primary or not. I don't know how the turnout's going to be. Primaries are always have a smaller turnout than the general election, but it's worthwhile. There are races there that matter, and if you check our vote411.org website, you'll see what the races are, and whether you're a registered Republican or Democrat, you'll see the individuals who you will have an opportunity to vote for, so you can be an educated voter. Some races are already decided. There may be no one running against them, but in other races, it is important that people show up at the polls. So whatever the number is, people have options on how they vote, whether it's mail-in or voting in person on June 2nd. There's still some time to do the mail-in ballots, and Linda gave you that timeline. But it's important that people show up. It's our democratic obligation to do it. clearly Linda and I are pretty strident about that. We think that everybody should vote. Not everybody will, but it's an important thing to do, and it's our right.
I thank you guys for joining us on short notice today. I reached out to Teri at about 10:30 this morning, and here it is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We were able to hook up. So fortunately, technology allows us to do this even though we can't see each other in person. So thank you very much, and we will see you guys on June 2nd.
Thanks for inviting us.
Thanks for watching One on One. Be sure to tune in again for another edition.